Welcome back, boys and girls. Another quarantine episode, another Skype episode with the boys from Five Holers. I am your host, the Pharaoh Michael Shanuti, and always with me is the other legs of the tripod. Below on my screen, all the way from the backwoods, the walrus, Zachary Vincent. How we doing, baby?
Doing well, hanging out outside in Woodbridge, Virginia, enjoying some sunshine, some fresh air, and, being stuck in one location for prolonged periods of time. So, doing well.
Nice. And you know what? He is living up to the bill of the Reverend. My man is looking like Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie. The Reverend himself, Jeff Schneider. How we doing, baby?
Oh, great, man.
My man got a little tipsy whipsy last night.
I mean, what else are you gonna do when you're stuck at home?
I was about to say,
log of alcoholics.
Well, I mean, during this time, obviously, no hockey. Trump met with everybody. He was really the only good thing that came out of it was football is going to start on time. Didn't really talk about the NFL or the NHL or the NBA. So that's the only big news that we have. Other than, like you said, what are we going to do during the quarantine? So
and that's the podcast right there, everybody. We got our news for the weekend.
See you next weekend.
Grand total of 90 seconds of content provided for your listening pleasure.
Honestly, we should just take a screenshot right now of everybody and then just circle Jeff and be like, this is the content. But we are still doing our series of documentaries and movies, hockey related. I got to watch the documentary on HBO from 2001, The Miracle on Ice, obviously. Do you guys know that story? I'm pretty sure I don't know it well enough.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much about that. Something with Canada's team, right? I think
Canada was the first Canadian hockey team to ever, use brass knuckles.
Something like that. I think it was the Olympics, right?
I think so. I think it was also in Siberia where the Olympics were held, and then the only obstacle that they have to worry about is they actually let loose a tiger onto the ice, and they have to skate around the tiger.
Right. This was in the early years of hockey, where it was like the Coliseum, where animals would face hockey players, and that's why they got sticks in the first place.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. And the sharpened blades were initially to slit the throat of the tiger, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, you had to take off your skate and stab one of them with it, right?
Joe Exotic does not approve of this.
I'll tell you who approves of this, that damn Carol Baskins. But no, everybody knows the Miracle on Ice, the USA hockey team at Lake Placid, defeating their arch nemesis, the Soviet Union, in a 4-3 win. It was funny because the documentary obviously talked a lot more about the situations going around in the world than just the hockey game. Obviously, they talked about the hostage situation in Iraq, how they didn't know what was going on. They were gone for however many days, and one of the highlights that they showed was them winning against the Russians, and they said that resonated with them the most because the USA team, obviously a bunch of college kids. We know the story from Boston, Minnesota, down, baby. And Herb Brooks, obviously the guy who put this all together, and he himself was the last guy to make the team, but then get cut for a guy that they brought in later when he was playing. So it was a great story in the sense of you didn't know how much of an impact it was. Obviously, we all know this. It resonates in USA lore, in history, in sports lore, and everything. But the biggest thing was a lot of people forget that beating the Russians wasn't their last game. That the next day they had to beat Finland to even get the gold. And if they lost, they would have never medaled. So it's what the fuck? So even Herb was like, all right, we beat the Soviet Union. Congratulations. We're not fucking done yet. We got to beat Finland. And they did. And they were the champions. I mean, obviously we could talk hours and hours about how we felt watching it, how the pictures, and obviously I was telling Zach like how the movie really captured everything. But I just I'll kick it off to you, Jeff. What resonates with you the most? Like the one thing that you see when you hear Miracle on Ice?
I mean, I really think everyone thinks that was the championship game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, people who don't really know hockey, but I mean, everyone knows of that because of how big it was and everything. I think they just assumed that was it to win everything. But yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Finally winning. I don't know. I mean, I remember watching Miracle in theaters too, and people like applauding during it, and I was just like, did they not know what was gonna happen? Like,
What was gonna go down?
like, even if it's not a documentary, but it's like based on true things, it's like I do not know the end of this if it's something this famous.
Right. And then it's funny that you brought that up. It's because a lot of people acted like they didn't know what was gonna happen at the end, and it's like, I understand theatrics and Hollywood make it a little bit more than what it was, but I mean, it really was that close, 4-3. Even Al Michaels, who announced the game, was even saying when they went up 4-3, there was 10 minutes left, and then
that's an eternity in hockey.
And they were saying that they were like, he was like, I covered football, I've covered basketball, baseball. Nothing is like 10 minutes of hockey. Like nothing is longer. Like when you have that 1-goal lead and you have to hold off, and they were superior opponents. Let's not kid ourselves. These were literally college kids who were not even the NHL All-Stars at the time and got their ass whooped in a charity match against the same team 10-3. And even Al Michaels was like, when you looked at that charity game, you knew 10-3 was closer than what it actually was. And then he said there was a completely different team in Lake Placid. So, Zach, I kick it off to you as well. Like, what do you think of like the Miracle on Ice, and like what resonates with you the most?
I think the only victory of the Cold War that could go down as something more momentous was when David Hasselhoff went over there when they knocked the Berlin Wall down and performed on top of it, that fucking shirt with the flashing shit on it. So I think that, David Hasselhoff aside, I think that, that it really was a moment in American history that should be cherished and something that we're never going to see again. Unless we get involved in another Cold War, which I don't want to turn this into a geopolitical podcast too much, but you don't see opponents like that, especially in a sport like hockey. I mean, you look at the 2012 game, Canada versus the U.S. for the gold medal. That was probably the closest thing we're ever going to see. Not 2012, 2010. That a game like that is probably the closest thing we're ever going to see to the Miracle on Ice again, as far as two titanic opponents like that are concerned. And that was a gold medal game. That wasn't a semifinal round. So I think that there's so much cultural importance around it. And as you said, this was something they showed the hostages when they finally got rescued, and that was really the rallying cry. So it's just something that's eternalized in American lore at this point in time was this game, and the fact that that a bunch of fucking college kids went out and beat the Red fucking Army of all fucking things. You
don't think landing on the moon was a bigger thing too, though? The space race was during this time, wasn't it? During the Cold War?
Listen,
Jeff, I don't want to get into it, but we never landed on the moon. Stanley Kubrick filmed that in the studio in Falls Church.
I'm with you on that, but I feel like that was something that was monumentous during the Cold War as well, as the space race.
I don't know.
God.
David Hasselhoff definitely takes priority number one, if you ask me.
All right.
David Hasselhoff.
Maybe we have a chance at another thing like this since the NHL has stopped sending its players to the Olympics. I mean, we'll see what happens this next time around, but we saw how bad the U.S. team did with the college guys and the AHL non-NHL players this last Olympics. I mean, but even if they do end up winning with people like that, it's not going to be the same because everything surrounding it, like you said, just made it so much more significant.
I don't think. I mean, like Zach said. I mean, without getting really political about it, unless we get into a war with a country with that kind of star power in sports. I don't see us like. I don't see anybody being that significant. I guess like Canada because we just the Canadians and us and blah blah blah. But
Never
like,
could get up with Canada, man.
I mean, nothing against Canada. It's just like it's like your little brother who's actually pretty good at the one thing that you're not good at. Like soccer, we could beat them in soccer. Football, come on. Basketball, come on.
I don't know, man. We always say that we're the world champions, whoever wins the Lombardi Trophy, but they never play the Grey Cup champions. So I mean,
I think we need to institute that. We need to institute that. From now on, the winner of every sport has to play. Well, I guess the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship.
Yeah, so there you go.
Oh, my God.
The Blue Jays have a couple World Series wins, so.
Exactly. But, yeah, I mean, without beating a dead horse, great documentary, great movie. Miracle on Ice. I mean, if you don't know, then I think you live under a rock. But I think the next best movie that we got, we'll save the best movie for last. But Zach, you watched Happy Gilmore, a classic film of why hockey players and golf go together that I just don't understand.
I think it was more the tale of a man who loved hockey and hated golf, but realized that he excelled at golf, and then realized that he hated everything that there was about golf and that he wanted to change it. I mean, if you look at it in modern golf culture, if you watch, these PGA Pro Tours and stuff, they're still very reserved, very professional and stuff like that. And there's no room for Happy Gilmore. And I think it's a goddamn crying shame that showboating isn't allowed in golf. And I think that Happy Gilmore made a case for it. A lot of people see this just as a comedy, as, oh, hey, it's Adam Sandler. He's the guy who took his skate off and tried to stab somebody with it. But no, I think this was actually the beginning of a cultural revolution that has yet to take off, of golf becoming less of a gentleman's sport and more of a just, cultural phenomena where people can express themselves. Guys being guys, exactly.
Yep.
But, so Happy Gilmore, the story of a hockey player who turns into a golfer. And if you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, obviously, I think we could, any one of us could do Happy Gilmore off the top of our heads, which was actually part of the reason that I picked it. So what do you guys think? When it comes to Happy Gilmore, how's the hockey content? How's the golf content? How do the two overlap? Shanuti?
Well, I think the best part in the whole movie is he was just a brute in hockey, and he had no hockey skills. Like, he really was just like... Whoa. He did it. Let's be honest.
The way he skated around out there. Come on.
Let's be honest. The guy had to kick somebody out so he could be like, 365 days until the next hockey tryouts, and boom, right in the fucking chest. But
you're neglecting something, though. You're neglecting something. He knew the secrets, the greatest slap shot in the history of the world.
Yeah, but he couldn't control it. Like that thing was going all over the place.
In no way, shape, or form could he control it.
It was like with Craig Slapshot when he's playing in an adult league. He always seems to hit Petney no matter where he is on the ice. Like, he seems to hit him once a game with a slap shot, even if he's like moves away from the net and everything. Or it just reminded me of that type of thing. Where it wasn't accurate, but I mean it's hard as fuck.
I mean, yeah, I feel like every slap shot in the world is like, some people can control it because it's like not that powerful, but like with Happy Gilmore, I feel like he was just like, fuck it. And then I love how Chubbs comes up to him and is like, Happy goes, wait, why didn't you play football? You look like you could play football. He's like, my mom couldn't sign the permission slip because it was unsafe. And he grabs his fake arm. He's like, yeah, I guess so.
Oh, yeah, the hatred for the alligator plays it. Happy Gilmore really is the story of hatred. The hatred that Happy Gilmore had for everything surrounding what he was doing, whether it was the alligator, whether it was Shooter McGavin, whether it was those fucks on the PGA Pro Tour, whether it was, the Jackass guy, whether it was Steve Buscemi, who surprisingly I don't think made an appearance in that film. No matter what it was, Happy Gilmore hated it. But at the same time, in the end, he conquered it. You know why? Because he was happy. Because he was doing
his happy place.
Because he was doing it for his grandmother, so she could get back into her house.
He was doing it for that and for the mom from Modern Family.
Yes.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, let's talk about that. My man Adam Sandler in those days, and Happy Gilmore is a classic case of Adam Sandler when he was single back then and was a movie star. He was a horn dog. He was like, all right, time to put her in some lingerie and have two big pitchers of beers in his happy place, which would be in my happy place too, not gonna lie. But I'm just saying Adam Sandler is a horn dog on the screen.
Oh yeah.
My man.
Yeah,
but it was
all his other movies during that time period. And that's like when he was making good movies too. With like
Exactly.
Billy Madison and stuff. He did the same type of thing with that.
Billy Madison, Veronica Vaughn. I mean, she was strip poker or strip teasing and shit.
Learning or whatever with his flashcards.
Exactly. And then he finally gets it and it's fucking Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's correct.
I still think the best part of that whole movie in Happy Gilmore is still the fucking Subway commercial. That's a hole in one.
He teased the fucking Subway sandwich off and the guy catches it in his mouth.
Oh man, that's
Maybe
actually
Subway will go back to that.
Honestly, after the whole Gary thing, I mean, they have to do something. First of all, Happy Gilmore was the first ever, like, I was like, oh, I've never heard of Subway. Let me go get a sandwich. Like, I really haven't heard of Subway, except for from that movie. And then I had Subway, and then the Jerry thing happened. Now I'm a Quiznos guy. The only Quiznos
left.
left.
Exists by you?
There's some, like, in the outskirts, yeah.
I'm a Quiznos guy too. I just don't know where there's a Quiznos around me, unfortunately.
There was one.
They all shut down.
There was one by the Ice House. I know that one shut down.
Not anymore.
Yep. There's one I think there was one in Arlington. I think that's the one I went to.
There were a lot.
I mean, they used to come on, man. Those sea monkeys or whatever they were called. Fucking those commercials.
Oh, yeah. Those things were great. We love the subs.
Oh, man. But no, Happy Gilmore, probably top 5 Sandler films. And top 5 Sandler films are great movies. I think it's right there. Please go watch it. But nothing beats this next movie. And it's the best movie of all time. If you haven't seen it, quarantine time is probably the best time. Jeff.
It's on Netflix right now.
It's on Netflix too? Okay. Yeah, I know it's on Amazon Prime. That's where I rewatched it. I sadly saw this movie in theaters, and I think it was part of because Jessica Alba was in, so
exactly.
So I think that was a huge part, and it was a hockey movie, and it's when what's the hockey player's name, the actor's name?
Justin Timberlake.
No, well, he was in it too, but the
black guy,
one,
I don't know his name.
Yeah, but he was just in 40-Year-Old Virgin, had recently come out too, so like he had that little bit of a high pushing him around, and I think he was
on Weeds too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a pretty main character on that for the first couple seasons, and it just seemed to be like towards the beginning of the end for Michael Myers movies. There, of course, we're talking about The Love Guru.
Of course.
Yeah. My favorite part when I saw it then and when I rewatched it again was it Colbert and Gaffigan, who are the announcers, and they have the little the graphics of the two teams that are just beating the shit out of each other before the games.
J-Kel, I'm gonna illustrate.
This fucking movie, man. Oh my god. I can't believe you actually saw it in theaters. Like, I was telling Zach, I was like, you give me the list of like the cast. You're like, wow, this is gonna be a great fucking movie.
He's cast, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it passes the eye test. You have Mike Myers, Jessica Alba, Megan Goods, the guy we were talking from Weeds, Justin Timberlake,
Ben Kingsley.
Like, that's a star-studded cast. Like, that movie should have won like whatever comedy movie.
Maybe it won the Razzie for it.
It definitely won that one. Definitely won the worst movie of all time, or that year. Probably all time. I honestly think it's probably the worst movie of all time.
Though I'm sure that movie lost so much money just paying all those people, let alone how much it cost for that shit. Like, how ridiculous some of the scenes were in there, like the stuff that they had to go and get for it.
The elephants were crying out loud.
Yeah.
I feel like we need a Mike Myers kind of cameo in something to say it was the worst movie of all time. kind of like in Zombieland when Bill Murray was in there.
Any
And they're like,
regrets?
"Do you have one regret?" He's like, "Garfield, maybe." Like, we need Mike Myers to come out and say, "Love Guru was a mistake. It was my fault." Something like.
I mean, you leave it, the Canadian guy made a movie that's, had hockey in it. So, I mean, I feel like this was one of those ones that he wanted to make at some point. And with all of his recognition and fame with all his other movies with Austin Powers and Wayne's World and all that shit, like, I feel like they let him do whatever he wanted to at that point. He's like, I'm going to make a hockey movie where I'm a guru aspiring to be the number one guru. Like, it's like, all right, sure, why not? People go to
I guess this is fine.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
just
worry,
like
it'll be big in Canada.
What'd you say?
Don't worry, it'll be big in Canada.
I wonder the numbers in Canada for that movie would be. Like, I need to find the box office numbers for that movie in Canada. That would be funny to see. It's just like Mike Myers hockey. That's
just by virtue of the fact that the Maple Leafs are winning the cup in that movie, I think there's plenty of Canadians who would have gone to see it just for that.
Well, and it was ridiculous too, wasn't it? The Kings that they played the championship, and at the time they were like one of the worst teams. Like, both of the teams were struggling when that movie came out. And you're like, this is never gonna be Stanley Cup in our lifetime.
I think it came out in like 2008 or 2007. It's just like, what the fuck?
I think it was 2005, but either way, yeah, back when the Kings were absolute garbage, and the Maple Leafs are. I mean, we can get into it really quick, but the Maple Leafs are still garbage somehow, even with all the star power they have.
Yeah, I mean, they'll make the playoffs because they're in a weak division, but they'll get bounced in the first round as they do every year. It seems like you can have all these superstars, but there's no like fluidity or continuity with the team. Like, it seems like everyone's out for themselves.
It's a big group of individuals.
Yep.
I think it's like what you guys said. It's just like a mismanagement of talent, and I think it's just like, oh, we're gonna put all this talent around us, but we're not gonna have zero team chemistry. That's what it is. It's like they have chemistry, yeah, kind of, but like you guys said, it's not gonna beat a team like Washington or Boston who actually know how to feed off each other. So that's our hockey talk for today. Actual hockey talk for today.
Well, and I feel like this team is going to be like the equivalent of Pittsburgh when they had the Killer Bees and everything, where it's like you think of all the names that are on this Toronto team and you're like, how did they not win a cup during this time? Because they're going to get to a point where they can't retain everyone because of people's contracts running out and they need to pay people money. So I think it's going to look back at one of the best teams that never really succeeded in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Young Gun Capitals. It's going to be the same thing where it's like with that roster, how the fuck did they not make it that any further than God? I don't think Toronto's made it past the conference quarterfinals, have they?
I don't think
recent memory. No. Mm-hmm. Have they not won a first round pick? No, or first round playoff series. It's crazy.
How far are we going back with this team though? Like, I mean, since Matthews has been there, I don't think they have.
No, I don't think they have either.
Yeah. That's crazy. You have Austin Matthews and you don't win one. Like, I mean, like, their team wasn't bad. Like, I understand they have John Tavares now, and he came last year, but like even before that, their team wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and to think that Tavares leaving his team, and then the Islanders made it further than Toronto did last year, and no one gave the Islanders like any thought of making the playoffs at all.
Just to bring this full circle, I don't think they've won a first-round playoff series since they had Phil the Thrill Kessel on their roster.
Phil Kessel is the reason why things happen. I'm telling you. He's the reason.
It's going to be the curse of Phil. When they let him go, they can't win a first-round series anymore.
It's true. Look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is reeling.
He goes and wins a cup in Pittsburgh, too. I mean, getting rid of Phil Kessel is a mistake, no matter how you slice it.
It's like, I understand the guy's old and looks like he had 1 million hot dogs, but that's the lore of Phil Kessel. If you can't have him at his worst, you can't have him at his best.
And he did have 1 million hot dogs.
I still think he could beat Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut if he put his mind to it.
I think we need that. During this time period, why not have a quarantine, a hot dog eating contest with the three of them all on Skype or Zoom or something? And
we got to Zoom it. It. We'll have all three of them and then us three at the bottom judging.
There you go.
Boom. Mystery Science Theater style.
And everybody gets a card. So like I have to like count Phil Kessel. You'll have to. One of you gets Joey, and the other one gets Kobe.
I'm down. All right, Shanuti, get the Four Corners expense account out and make this happen.
Yep.
Damn,
hot dogs are cheap as fuck, man. You spend $1 on like 10 hot dogs. Come on.
Honestly, like what was it? The Hebrew francs are like 99 cents or some shit like that.
Right. For 11 hot dogs.
Man. Oh yeah. Well, boys, thank you for hopping on, and thank you for the Love Guru. Fuck the Love Guru. It's still a great movie. Go watch it. Go watch Happy Gilmore if you lived under a rock. And if you don't know what The Miracle on Ice is, we'll just say this: a walrus was involved. We'll just leave it at that. So
What?
Any Reapers in there?
We said Zach actually. Zach was actually the goalie for the USA team.
Of course.
And I love how okay, just to say one more thing, I love how they used the Jason mask from Friday the 13th as the goalie mask back in those days. Those are great.
Oh yeah, I can't believe that provided any protection whatsoever.
Zero.
I don't think it really did.
The only thing it was protecting was maybe like the bottom half of your chin. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know, because if it's like flush to your face, it's still getting hit. It's gonna just push it in. Like that's not gonna cushion you at all. It's not like they had padding on the other side or anything.
It's like wearing leather helmets in football. It was just for show, and it was safe, quote unquote. They just wanted to show off. They want to show off safety.
I guess.
It is what it is. Boys, thank you so much for hopping on. Do you guys have any last words?
No, not today. Stay safe out there, people.
Eat fresh.
Eat fresh.
No free ads. Subway, sponsor us. But all of us have Four Corners. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Listen to all our great podcasts. We have Five Holers, Face of the Franchise, Last Nice Guys, Bread and Butter, Free Therapy, Degenerates Are Us, Hoopin' and Hollerin', and we'll always bring the hits to you during this quarantine. As always, we want to say stay safe. Thank you to everybody who is on the front lines of this, getting everybody healthy, everybody well. Hopefully we can flatten the curve and we can go back to the studio and give you guys what you want. But until then, we'll always be Skyping. We'll always be doing it for our fans. And as always, stay breezy, stay easy, and one love.